My name is Ethan Miller, and I've been married to Stella Ross for a few years now. We met the simple, old-fashioned way, set up by mutual friends. We just clicked, and getting married felt like the natural next step. Life after the wedding was like a glass of lukewarm water, calm and unremarkable. The days bled into one another. We had a beautiful daughter, and I figured this quiet stability was what the rest of our lives would look like. That evening, I came home from work like any other day, carrying a box of the cupcakes our daughter Lily loves. The moment I opened the door, I saw Stella sitting on the couch, her expression heavy. My stomach dropped. A knot of dread tightened in my chest. "What's wrong, Stella?" I asked softly, putting the box down and sitting beside her. Stella looked up, her eyes a storm of conflict and hesitation. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again. "Just tell me what happened." "You're scaring me," I said, taking her hand, trying to offer some strength. She took a deep breath as if steeling herself. "Ethan," she said, "Leo Vance is back, and he has a son." The name Leo Vance hit me like a punch to the gut. I knew exactly who he was. Before we were married, Stella had told me about him. He was the one that got away, the defining memory of her youth. I'd always known he existed in her past, but after all these years, I assumed he was just that, a memory long since faded from our lives. "What's he doing back here?" I asked, fighting to keep my voice even, though my mind was already reeling. Stella looked down, avoiding my eyes. Her voice was laced with guilt. "I don't know. I just found out today." I paused for a beat. "Did you see him?" She gave a slight nod. "Yeah, we ran into each other downtown. He said he's moving back for good." A surge of anger I couldn't name rose in my throat, but I forced it down. "And you?" I pressed. "Do you still have feelings for him?" Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with panic. "No, Ethan, of course not. We're over. It's just, I never expected him to show up out of the blue, especially with a kid." I searched her eyes looking for a trace of conviction, but all I found was confusion and fear. "So what are you going to do?" I stared at her, waiting for an answer, but Stella fell silent. She bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes. In that instant, the distance between us felt vast and uncrossable. I had always believed we were the closest two people could be. But faced with her silence, I felt like a stranger who had never truly known her at all. A dead quiet settled over the room, broken only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. Each second, a merciless marker of the chasm opening between us. I stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the darkening sky. My thoughts were a tangled mess. I had no idea how to handle this. Our marriage, our family. It all felt like it was teetering on the edge of a cliff. I loved Stella, and I loved our daughter. This family was the reason I worked so hard. But Leo's return was like a bomb. It had just blown our peaceful life to pieces. Just as I was lost in thought, the doorbell rang. Stella jumped to her feet, a flash of panic in her eyes. I glanced at her, then walked over and opened the door. A strange man and a little boy stood on the doorstep. The man was handsome, but his eyes held a glint of arrogance and a clear challenge. I didn't need to guess. It was Leo Vance. "Hello, Mr. Miller," Leo said, a smile plastered on his face that didn't reach his eyes. "Come in," I said, stepping aside, my voice tight with forced politeness. Leo walked into the living room, his gaze lingering on Stella for a moment before he smiled. "Stella, long time no see." Stella managed a weak, tight-lipped smile. "Leo, what are you doing here?" His eyes flicked from me to her. "I came to see you," he said, his tone dripping with insinuation. "In your home, we all sat." The little boy sat quietly next to Leo, his eyes darting around the room with curiosity. "Is this your son?" I asked, looking at the boy. Leo ruffled the boy's hair, a smug look on his face. "Yep, my son, Cody. Smart kid, isn't he?" I just nodded, saying nothing. Leo turned his attention back to Stella. "So, Stella, have you had a good life all these years?" She gave a small nod. "It's been great. Ethan, Lily, and I are very happy." Leo smirked, a look that felt like a slap in the face. "Happy? I don't know about that. Look at this life. It's so predictable, so boring. Are you really content to live like this forever? My jaw tightened. Mr. Vance, I said, my voice low and sharp. Stella is happy. This is the life we've built together. We don't need your judgment. He waved a dismissive hand. Don't you think something's missing between you two? When she was with me, that was real passion. All I'd have to do is snap my fingers, and she'd come running back. That was it. I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. I shot to my feet. Leo, I'm going to ask you to be respectful. Stella is my wife. This is our family. Stop talking nonsense. Leo stood up too. His expression was openly defiant. Don't get so worked up, Miller. I'm just telling the truth. Stella, you know it. You know you still have feelings for me. Stella rose from the couch, her voice trembling. Leo, stop it. Ethan and I love each other. Our family's happy. Please don't come here and disrupt our lives. Leo looked at her, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of disappointment in his eyes. It was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by his usual arrogance. Fine, Stella. If that's how you want to play it, I won't push. But I'm in town to stay. If you change your mind, you know where to find me. With that, he took his son's hand and walked out. I watched them go, but the rage and anxiety churning inside me didn't subside. I knew in that moment that our quiet life was over. I had no idea what was coming, but I made a silent vow. I would protect my family. I would protect Stella and Lily, no matter what it took. After Leo left, I desperately hoped Stella would give me some kind of reassurance, a firm promise that our love was strong enough to weather this storm. Instead, she just quietly cleared the coffee cups from the table, her eyes downcast, hiding whatever she was feeling. I reached for her hand, searching for warmth, but her fingers were cold as ice. Stella, no matter what he says, we'll face it together, okay? I pleaded softly. She nodded, but the gesture was so listless, so empty, it left a hollow feeling in my gut. After that night, life on the surface returned to normal. But an invisible wall now stood between us. The days crawled by, and Stella started working late, more and more often. I'd wait for her on the couch, watching the clock hands spin, the knot of anxiety in my stomach tightening with each passing hour. I knew deep down she was probably with him, but I couldn't bring myself to confront her. I was terrified that piercing that bubble of denial would shatter our marriage for good. Meanwhile, Leo's Facebook profile became my personal hell. He would post vague but pointed updates, hinting at a renewed intimacy with Stella. One day it was a picture of two coffee cups, their hands barely out of frame, but I recognized the curve of her wrist instantly. The next, a cryptic caption about old flames, in true love never dying. Each post was a knife twisting in my heart. I'd stare at my phone, consumed by a toxic brew of rage and jealousy. But what could I do? Confront Leo? Accuse Stella? I was afraid it would only make things worse. One night Stella came home exceptionally late. I was waiting on the couch when she walked in, looking exhausted. Her hair was slightly disheveled and her eyes held a flicker of panic I'd never seen before. Why so late? I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. She flinched. Just a lot of work at the office. Big project. I stared at her, saying nothing. She avoided my gaze and hurried into the bedroom. I followed her and watched as she changed her clothes. That's when I saw it, a new bracelet on her wrist. It was delicate and obviously expensive. Where did that come from? I couldn't stop myself from asking. Her hand froze midair. Oh, she said, trying to sound casual. A coworker gave it to me. We went shopping today. I knew she was lying. The bracelet wasn't her style at all. And what kind of coworker gives a gift that expensive? I didn't press her further. I just turned and walked out of the room, feeling like the world's biggest fool, willfully blind and utterly deceived. A few days later, I was looking for something in her purse when my fingers brushed against a piece of paper. It was a receipt for a high-end watch. My heart hammered against my ribs as I read it. The price was astronomical, and the purchase date was the same day she had supposedly been working late. My hands trembled. I couldn't understand it. Why would she buy Leo such an extravagant gift? What did our marriage even mean to her anymore? That evening when Stella got home, I met her at the door with the receipt in my hand. What is this? I asked, my voice cold. The color drained from her face the moment she saw the paper. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. You bought Leo Vance a luxury watch. My voice rose, the anger I'd been suppressing finally boiling over. Ethan, let me explain, she started, her voice frantic. Explain what? That you went behind my back to buy a gift for the one that got away? A gift more expensive than anything you've ever bought for me? I interrupted, my words dripping with sarcasm. It's not what you think. He did me a huge favor. I was just thanking him, she stammered. A favor worth this much? I laughed, a bitter hollow sound. We've been married for years, Stella. When have you ever thanked me with something like this? The argument escalated into the worst fight we'd ever had. Our daughter Lily, woken by our shouting, hid in her room crying. But Stella didn't seem to notice. Her mind, her heart, seemed to be entirely consumed by Leo. Our family had become worthless to her. On top of everything, the kids were constantly at odds. Leo's son Cody seemed to take pleasure in tormenting Lily, starting fights, and then twisting the story to make her look like the bully. Every time Lily came running to us in tears, Stella would scold her for being petty and intolerant. He's just a little boy. Can't you just be the bigger person? Stella would say. But Mommy, he started it, Lily would sob. Don't make excuses. If you were better behaved, you two wouldn't be fighting. Stella would snap, refusing to listen, always siding with Cody. Seeing Lily so hurt and confused broke my heart. I would hold her and tell her that Daddy believed her. But I felt helpless and furious. I couldn't understand how Stella could be so cruel to her own daughter. The breaking point came one weekend. I was walking with Lily through the park in our condo complex when we ran into Leo and Cody. As soon as he saw her, Cody started in. Your mommy doesn't like you, he taunted, making a face at Lily. She likes my daddy. Lily's face turned bright red. That's a lie. No, your mom and my dad are together all the time. They're supposed to be together. Lily burst into tears. I had reached my limit. How are you raising your kid? I demanded, turning on Leo. He just shrugged. It's just kids being kids. Why are you taking it so seriously? Seriously? He's hurting my daughter, I yelled. Hurting her. Your daughter is no angel. She gives my son plenty of grief. Leo shot back, his eyes glinting. Don't you dare twist this. Your son has been the instigator from day one. I see that. The argument got more heated, and suddenly Leo shoved me. I raised my hands instinctively to block him, but he threw himself backward dramatically, shouting, He hit me! He's assaulting me! At that exact moment, Stella walked into the park. Seeing the scene, her face hardened into a mask of fury. Ethan, what are you doing? She screamed at me. Stella, listen to me. He pushed me first, I tried to explain. Explain what? I saw you. How could you attack him? She didn't even listen, rushing straight to Leo's side to help him up. Watching her fuss over him, her face etched with concern, was the final blow. My heart, already fractured, shattered completely. In her world, Lily and I were outsiders. Her heart belonged to Leo. Stella, I want a divorce, I said. My voice was eerily calm, devoid of all emotion. She froze, staring at me as if she'd never expected those words. Ethan, don't be impulsive, she began. I'm not. I've thought about it. I can't live in this home anymore. Lily comes with me. You can be with the one that got away. A flicker of panic crossed her face. She looked like she wanted to say something, but Leo put a hand on her arm and she fell silent, watching me with a look of desperation. Good, Leo said with a triumphant smirk. A divorce. Just don't come crying back when you regret it. I ignored him. I scooped Lily into my arms and walked away without a backward glance. In that moment, all I felt was a profound sense of release. Our marriage had ended in failure, but at least I was free from the constant pain and torment. I knew the road ahead would be long and difficult, but with my daughter by my side, I had the strength to face anything. The moment I signed the divorce papers, I felt hollowed out. All the anger, disappointment, and pain had dissolved into a deep, crushing exhaustion. Stella packed her things in silence. Her movements were so quiet it was as if she were afraid of disturbing the ghosts in our shattered home. I sat on the couch watching her, flashes of our life together playing in my mind. memories that now felt like shards of glass in my heart. I'm leaving now, she said softly, her voice trembling almost imperceptibly. I didn't look up. I just nodded. I couldn't meet her eyes, afraid I'd break down and ask her why. Why she had torched our marriage, our family, our entire world. After she left, the house felt cavernously empty. It was just me and Lily. She didn't quite understand what was happening yet and would sometimes ask when Mommy was coming home. I never knew what to say. I would just pull her into a tight hug. I tried to force my life back into a routine. Work, pick up Lily, make dinner, repeat. The one strange thing was that Stella didn't immediately move in with Leo. I'd assumed she'd run straight to him, but instead she was staying at her mother's house. She told him it wouldn't look right for them to live together before the mandatory waiting period for the divorce was final. As if fate enjoyed torturing me, I kept running into the three of them, Stella, Leo, and Cody, in the most unexpected places. Every time I saw them together laughing and smiling, a bitter wave of nausea washed over me. Well, look who it is, Leo would always say with that insufferable smirk, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. How's it going, Miller? Tough being a single dad, huh? I just gave him a flat look and walked away. I had no energy left for his games. I knew he wanted a reaction, wanted to see me angry and broken, and I refused to give him the satisfaction. Stella would just stand there, her eyes darting away from mine. She always looked like she wanted to say something, but the words never came. Her behavior was odd, almost as if she were hiding something, but I was done trying to figure her out. It was over between us. One afternoon at the grocery store, I ran into them again. Cody saw me and deliberately ran right into my legs, then looked up with a fake, innocent expression. Oops, sorry, mister. I didn't mean to, he said, a sly little grin on his face that was a perfect copy of his father's. I didn't say a word. I just stepped around him and kept walking. Behind me, I heard Leo's smug chuckle and Stella's quiet reprimand. Leo, don't be like that. He's just a child, she said. What's the big deal? He's not going to do anything to us, Leo replied, utterly unconcerned. I ignored them, paid for my groceries, and hurried home. The moment I walked through the door, Lily ran up and threw her arms around my legs. Seeing her bright, innocent smile was like a ray of sunshine cutting through the gloom. No matter how complicated the world outside was, I still had her. She was my everything. Life settled into this grim new normal until one day at the office, I overheard some colleagues talking about a massive new investment opportunity. They said the project had incredible potential, promising huge returns for anyone who got in early. I didn't pay it much mind. Investing was risky, and I didn't have that kind of money to throw around. But then a short time later, I heard about the same project from Stella. I was picking Lily up from preschool and ran into her as she was getting Cody. We stood at the gate, the air thick with awkwardness. How have you been? She asked, breaking the silence. Fine, I said flatly. Lily and I are doing okay. After a few more lines of meaningless small talk, just as I was about to leave, she said casually, Oh, by the way, have you heard about that big investment fund? It seems really solid. A friend told me about it. I don't have the money myself. Otherwise, I'd definitely give it a shot. My ears perked up. It was the same project I'd heard about at work. I looked at her, a flicker of suspicion in my mind. Why was she telling me this? But I feigned disinterest, gave a non-committal shrug, and left with Lily. Back home, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Stella had never cared about investing. Her mentioning it, and with such specific praise, felt calculated, but I couldn't figure out her angle. We were divorced. She was with Leo. What did she have to gain by talking to me about money? I didn't have to wonder for long. A few days later, I ran into Leo in the condo parking lot. He shot me a triumphant grin. Heard you know about that investment deal, Miller? He said smugly. I'm telling you, I've done my research and this thing is a guaranteed winner. Stella told me about it, and while I was skeptical at first, I've decided to put my life savings into it. I was stunned. Stella had actually pitched it to him. I looked at Leo's face, glowing with confidence and greed, like he could already see the millions piling up. Aren't you worried about the risk? I asked, unable to help myself. What risk? I've checked it all out, he said dismissively. Besides, I trust Stella's judgment. She's looking out for our future, you know? Wants to make sure we have a good life together. I stared at him, the gears in my head turning faster and faster. What was Stella playing at? Was she really trying to secure a future with this guy? Or was something else going on? I kept my doubts to myself. We were strangers now. His business wasn't mine. In the following weeks, Leo was consumed by the fantasy of his impending fortune. He was constantly bragging on Facebook about his brilliant investment, posting pictures with Stella, and talking about the project progress. Every time I saw one of his posts, a strange feeling washed over me. Part of me worried he was being scammed, and another darker part suspected this was all a trap set by Stella herself. Finally, the mandatory waiting period for the divorce was almost over. We had almost no contact. I focused on my work and on raising Lily, trying to build a new life. Then just a few days before the divorce was set to be finalized, the news broke. The investment fund had imploded. I was at work when a friend called me. He told me the whole thing was a massive fraud. The founders had vanished and every single investor had been wiped out. My blood ran cold. The first person I thought of was Leo. After work, I rushed home. As I pulled into our complex, I saw him standing by the entrance, his face a mask of fury and utter despair. When he saw me, he ran over as if I were a lifeline. "Ethan, did you hear? It was a scam. All my money, it's gone," he yelled, his face contorted in a terrifying grimace. I looked at him, a storm of emotions churning inside me. I suspected something was wrong with the project, but I never imagined it would collapse so spectacularly. "How did this happen?" I asked, though what I really wanted to know was what role Stella had played in all of this. "I don't know. I checked everything." "It was all legit," he lamented. "Someone set me up. I swear I'm going to find out who." Just then, Stella came rushing up. She saw the look on Leo's face and went pale. "Leo, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice filled with alarm. "What's wrong? The project imploded. My money is gone. All of it," he screamed at her. Stella's face went white. She covered her mouth, her eyes wide with what looked like shock, but just as quickly she composed herself and began comforting him. "Leo, don't panic," she said, her voice soothing. "We'll figure something out. Maybe there's still a chance." I watched her, marveling at her performance. It was flawless. If I hadn't already been suspicious of her motives, I would have been completely fooled. I thought to myself with a sudden, chilling certainty. This was her trap all along. But why? Leo looked as though his spine had been ripped out. He collapsed onto the ground, his usual arrogance and pride replaced by a raw, hollow despair. He clutched his head, muttering to himself, unable to process the fact that his life savings had vanished overnight. After a long, agonizing silence, he slowly looked up at Stella, who had been standing quietly by his side. "Stella, I didn't mean to blame you," he stammered, his voice choked with guilt. "This isn't your fault. It's mine. I was too greedy. I didn't think it through." Stella's expression softened. A gentle smile touched her lips as she said, "Leo, I know you didn't mean it. It's not your fault either. Who could have seen this coming? Let's not dwell on it. We'll find a way through this." She placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, seeing her react with such grace and forgiveness. A complex mix of emotions flickered across Leo's face. He opened his mouth as if to say more, but no words came out. He simply nodded, his eyes downcast. That night, I was on the living room floor with Lily, working on a puzzle when my phone rang. It was Stella. My breath caught in my throat. Since signing the papers, we had barely spoken. I hesitated for a second before answering. "Hello, Ethan." Her voice sounded weary. "Stella, what's up?" I tried to keep my tone neutral. "I was wondering if I could take Lily out tomorrow, just for the day," she asked, her voice tentative, almost shy. I glanced at Lily, who was completely absorbed in finding the right puzzle piece, her face a picture of pure concentration. I knew she missed her mom. After a moment's thought, I agreed. "Okay, you can pick her up in the morning. Just be safe." "Thank you, Ethan," she said, a note of genuine gratitude in her voice. After hanging up, a vague sense of unease settled over me. Her request felt strange, but I couldn't put my finger on why. Stella arrived early the next morning. Lily squealed with delight and ran into her arms. Stella hugged her tightly, her eyes shining with a fierce tenderness. Hey, sweetie. Mommy's going to take you somewhere really fun today, Stella said, her voice bright. Yay! Lily cheered, clapping her hands. As I watched them walk away, a hollow feeling spread through my chest. I went back inside and tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting back to Stella and Lily. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I frowned and answered. Ethan Miller, it's Leo. His voice was venomous, laced with a chilling aggression. How did you get my number? What do you want? I asked coldly. Huh? You think you've won, don't you? Well, I'm not done yet. I'm going to make you suffer like you've never suffered before. His voice was unhinged, spiraling into madness. A cold dread washed over me. What are you going to do? I demanded. You'll see, he snarled and hung up. My hand trembled as I lowered the phone. I knew he had lost his mind. He was capable of anything. I had to find Stella and Lily. Now I scrambled out the door, dialing Stella's number over and over while scanning the streets. No answer. My panic escalated with every unanswered call. Then I remembered Stella had once mentioned a big shopping mall out in the suburbs. She wanted to take Lily too. Clinging to that sliver of hope, I floored it, heading for the mall. When I got there, the scene was pure chaos. A crowd was gathered near the entrance. Security guards were struggling to restrain Leo, whose face was a mask of twisted, desperate rage. On the ground lay a bloody knife. A few feet away, a small child with long brown hair was lying face down, a dark pool of blood spreading on the pavement around them. And Stella was there, clutching another child, a boy who had his face buried in her chest. Leo, you're insane! What did you do? I screamed, pushing my way through the crowd. He saw me and a grotesque smile stretched across his lips. You're here, Miller. Perfect. I've lost everything. I have nothing left to live for. But if I'm going to hell, I'm taking your daughter with me. My heart stopped. I looked at the child in Stella's arms, and my world tilted on its axis. But then Stella let out a cold, sharp laugh. She slowly turned, revealing the face of the boy she was holding. Leo's eyes widened in horror. His face contorted with utter disbelief, because the boy in Stella's arms was our daughter, Lily. But how is that possible? Leo stammered. His horrified gaze shifted to the child lying on the ground. Then, who is that? He whispered, his voice trembling. Stella didn't answer. She slowly knelt and gently turned the child over. As she did, the long brown wig they were wearing fell off, revealing the face of Leo's son, Cody. A gut-wrenching cry tore from Leo's throat. All the strength left his body, and he crumpled to the ground, a broken man. He couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The security guards looked just as stunned as everyone else. I stood frozen, my mind blank, trying to process the nightmarish scene. What was going on? Why would Stella do this? What was the secret she was hiding? Stella stood up. The panic and fear were gone from her face, replaced by an unnerving, icy calm. She looked at me, her lips parting as if she was about to speak, but then she closed them again. Leo was completely catatonic, staring into space, endlessly repeating, "Why? How could this happen? Why?" The police arrived moments later and took Leo away. They escorted Stella to a cruiser to give her statement. I just stood there, clutching Lily, the terror and confusion still churning inside me. I looked down on my daughter's face, safe and unharmed, and I swore to myself that I would never let her out of my sight again. After the police took Leo away, a semblance of calm returned. I held Lily close. She was trembling in my arms, her eyes wide with a terror she couldn't yet comprehend. Stella stood nearby, her face as white as a sheet, a look of profound exhaustion and release in her eyes. "Let's just go home," I said quietly. She nodded without a word. The drive was silent, punctuated only by Lily's occasional hiccuping sobs. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, my heart aching for her. Stella stared out the window, her expression distant and unreadable. When we got back, we worked together to put Lily to bed. She clung to my hand, as if afraid I'd disappear the moment she closed her eyes. I whispered comforting words until her breathing evened out, and she finally drifted off to sleep. Seeing her safe in her bed eased some of the tension in my chest. I carefully slipped my hand from hers and joined Stella in the living room. The dim light cast long shadows on the walls, and the air was thick with unspoken words. Stella walked toward me and, without warning, dropped to her knees. I was so startled I lurched forward to pull her back up. "Stella, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice strained. She looked up, her eyes swimming with tears. "Ethan, I am so sorry for everything I put you and Lily through. Please, just let me kneel. It's the only way I can feel even a little bit better." I looked down at her, my mind a storm of confusion and a deep, unexpected well of pity. "Stella, just tell me what's going on. Tell me everything." She took a shaky breath and began to speak. "Ethan, there's so much I've hidden from you. Years ago, when Leo and I were together, my dad never trusted him. He was completely against our relationship. Then my dad died in a car accident, and my family's business fell apart almost overnight. The second things went south, Leo was gone. A shadow of old pain and fresh anger crossed her face. I always suspected Leo had something to do with my dad's death, but I could never prove it. When he came back to town, I saw my chance. I had to know the truth. I stared at her, stunned. The pieces were starting to click into place, forming a picture I never could have imagined. "So you faked it all? The affair, betraying our marriage? It was all to get close to him?" Stella nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I know it was a horrible thing to do to you and to Lily, but I didn't know what else to do. I had to get justice for my father." She explained that to earn Leo's trust, she had to do things that she knew would break my heart. The expensive watch she bought for him was actually fitted with a sophisticated listening device. One night, Leo got drunk with his friends and started bragging. He talked about how he'd hated Stella's father for trying to keep them apart. He confessed he'd hired someone to rough him up and that they'd knocked him unconscious and left him in the middle of a dark road where he was hit and killed by a passing car. When I heard him say that, I thought I was going to lose my mind. Stella's voice trembled. "I swore I would make him pay. That's when I set up the investment trap to ruin him." I listened, my emotions a tangled mess of shock, grief for her loss, and an overwhelming sadness for the burden she'd carried alone. "And today at the mall?" I asked. She bit her lip. "After he went bankrupt, I overheard him on the device, planning his revenge. He was going to take Lily from me. He convinced me that our kids needed to spend time together to bond, so I should take Lily out for a play date. That morning, I cut Lily's hair to look just like Cody's and dressed her in boys' clothes. Then I convinced Cody that I liked little girls more, and if he wore a wig for me, I'd like him even better. I also made them both wear face masks, telling them it was to prevent them from catching a cold. It all made sense now. The chaos, the confusion, it was all part of an elaborate, desperate plan to protect our daughter and make Leo destroy himself. Ethan, I know my performance was for a good reason, to find the truth and get my revenge. But the pain I caused you and Lily was real, Stella said, her eyes pleading with me. Can you ever forgive me? My heart ached for her. I reached out and gently wiped the tears from her cheeks. Stella, how could I blame you? You went through all of this alone. I'm only sorry that I didn't see your pain sooner, that I wasn't there to help you carry it. I pulled her into my arms and she collapsed against me, sobbing uncontrollably. All the years of suspicion, grief, and fear came pouring out. After a long time, her crying subsided. I held her at arm's length, looked her straight in the eye, and asked the question that still lingered. Stella, why didn't you just tell me from the beginning? We're a team. We could have faced this together. She looked down, her voice thick with emotion. I think you're too good, too honest. I knew you could never pull off the deception, and if something went wrong, if you didn't know anything, you would be safe. I couldn't bear the thought of dragging you down with me. I sighed, stroking her hair. You fool, that's what marriage is. We carry the burdens together. Promise me no more secrets. Whatever happens, we face it together. She looked up, tears glistening in her eyes, and nodded fiercely. I promise I never will again. Ethan, will you tear up the divorce papers? I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose our family. I looked at her, and all I felt was a deep, unwavering love. I smiled gently and nodded. Of course, we're still a family. Always. A watery smile broke through her tears. She threw her arms around me, holding on as if I were the only anchor in her storm-tossed world. In the aftermath, our life slowly found a new normal, but we were both irrevocably changed. We cherished each other more deeply with a new understanding of the precious, fragile thing that family is. As for Leo, he paid the price for his crimes, old and new. The days passed, and Lily, resilient as children are, began to heal from the trauma. Her laughter once again filled our home, a constant, joyful reminder of what we had almost lost. Stella and I worked hard to rebuild the trust that had been broken, to mend the cracks in our foundation. Sometimes at night, we sit out on the balcony watching the stars and talk about everything that happened. The pain, the sorrow, the joy. It's all part of our story now. We know the future won't always be easy, that there will be other storms to weather. But now we know that as long as we hold on to each other, there's nothing we can't face.